Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that obstacles do not block the path, they are the path. Yet, some people fall apart at the first sign of trouble, while others stand strong like ancient oaks facing fierce storms. The difference is not luck or external circumstances. It lies in what the ancient Greek and Roman philosophers called strength of character. In the next few minutes, you'll learn the 6 most revealing signs of mental weakness from a Stoic point of view and how these weaknesses keep us away from virtue and inner peace. The 6th sign, which we'll reveal at the end, is so subtle that most people think it's normal, yet it causes the deepest harm to the human soul. The Stoics believed that true mental strength is not about avoiding hardship, but about staying calm and balanced in the face of it. Seneca, who faced exile and death with peace, taught that we are not slaves to what happens around us but masters of how we respond within. According to Stoic philosophy, mental weakness begins when we let external things control our inner state, when we forget what is truly within our power. Epictetus, who was once a slave and later became one of Rome's most respected philosophers, proved that true freedom lives in the mind, not in external circumstances. Recognizing these signs of weakness is not about judging others, but about examining ourselves with the brutal honesty that defined the Stoics. If you've made it this far, it already shows a key Stoic virtue, the desire for self-knowledge. Mental strength is not something we are born with, it's a skill that can be trained, developed, and perfected over time. Mentally strong people are not free from pain, fear, or frustration. They simply process these emotions differently. On the other hand, those who are mentally weak often repeat destructive patterns that trap them in cycles of negativity and self-sabotage. The good news is that recognizing these patterns is the first step toward change. This is not about judgment, but about understanding how these mechanisms work so you can transform them. If you're here, it's because you want to grow, and that already says a lot about your character. Now let's get into the 6 signs. The first sign is the inability to distinguish between what is within our control and what is not. Epictetus began his teachings with this principle because it is the foundation of all Stoic wisdom. Mentally weak people waste huge amounts of energy trying to control what others think, how others act, the outcomes of their efforts, or even things like the weather. They become frustrated, anxious, and drained fighting battles they can't win. The Stoics knew that we only have full control over 3 things: our thoughts, our decisions, and our responses. Everything else belongs to the external world, and trying to control it only leads to endless suffering. The next time you feel frustrated, ask yourself, is this within my control or am I fighting against the inevitable? That single question can shift your perspective and bring back inner peace. The second sign is the desperate need for external validation to define your self-worth. Marcus Aurelius, even as emperor of the known world, wrote in private reminding himself that the opinions of others were just that, opinions. Mentally weak people build their self-esteem on the weakest foundation possible: other people's approval. They live on an emotional roller coaster where their happiness depends on likes, comments, or recognition from people they barely know. The Stoics practiced what they called the inner citadel, a mental fortress where one's worth is based on virtue and character, not on others' perceptions. Seneca said that those who seek approval from everyone will never truly own themselves. Real mental strength comes when your peace no longer depends on outside factors but is grounded in your daily practice of virtue. If you constantly need validation to feel good about yourself, it's time to start building that inner strength. The third sign is resistance to change and adversity. The Stoics saw obstacles not as enemies but as chances to practice virtue. Seneca advised visualizing difficulties daily, not to attract them but to be mentally prepared when they come. Mentally weak people cling to their comfort zone as if it were a lifeline, avoiding any change that might disturb their fragile sense of security. When life inevitably changes, they feel overwhelmed, victimized, and stuck. The Stoics embraced the idea of amor fati, love of fate, understanding that both joy and pain are essential parts of human existence. It's not about enjoying suffering, but about developing the mental flexibility to adapt to any situation while staying true to your character. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that the obstacle to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. If your first reaction to change is resistance and complaint, you might be missing valuable opportunities for growth. The fourth sign of mental weakness is the tendency to blame external factors for your emotional state. This is one of the most destructive traits from a Stoic point of view. When someone says, "You made me angry," or "This situation depresses me," they are giving away their personal power to outside circumstances. Epictetus, who knew the limits of physical freedom firsthand, taught that no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. External events are neutral. It is our judgment about them that creates emotion. Mentally weak people act like emotional thermometers, reflecting whatever happens around them, while Stoics act like thermostats, maintaining inner balance no matter what happens outside. Seneca wrote that it's easier to prevent harmful emotions than to control them once they've taken over. In other words, it's wiser to train your mind not to be disturbed in the first place than to struggle to calm yourself after losing control. The next time you feel like someone or something is making you feel a certain way, remember, you have the power to choose your response. The fifth sign is the inability to accept that everything in life is temporary. The Stoics regularly meditated on death, not out of morbidity, but out of wisdom and acceptance of life's impermanence. Mentally weak people cling desperately to people, possessions, and situations as if they will last forever, which only creates anxiety when faced with change or loss. Marcus Aurelius wrote that everything we love will eventually disappear, and accepting this truth allows us to enjoy the present more deeply. The Stoics understood that excessive attachment is self-inflicted suffering. It's not about avoiding love or appreciation, but about loving without possession and valuing without emotional dependence. Seneca advised saying goodbye to loved ones each night as if it were the last time, not to live in sadness, but to cultivate gratitude and presence. This practice develops what the Stoics called ataraxia, the tranquility of the soul that comes from accepting the impermanence of all things. If you find yourself suffering because something changed or ended, remember that change is the only constant in the universe, and resisting it is fighting against nature itself. The sixth and most dangerous sign is the constant pursuit of instant pleasure to avoid inner discomfort. This trap is subtle because modern society has made it seem normal. Mentally weak people constantly escape uncomfortable emotions through distractions, consumption, endless entertainment, or substances. The Stoics, however, deliberately practiced discomfort to strengthen their character. Seneca would fast, sleep on the floor, and wear simple clothes, not out of self-punishment, but to prove to himself that he could be happy with less. This practice, known as ascesis or spiritual training, builds the ability to stay calm and balanced in any situation. Pleasure itself is not evil, but when it becomes an escape from reality, it slowly weakens our ability to face life's natural challenges. Marcus Aurelius wrote that true happiness comes from virtue, not from sensory pleasure. The Stoics understood that every time we choose the easy path instead of the right one, we weaken our character. If you constantly seek distractions to avoid being alone with your thoughts or need constant stimulation to feel good, it's time to strengthen your ability to be at peace with yourself. The ancient Stoics taught that mental strength is not a destination but a journey built day by day, decision by decision. Every time you choose responsibility over blame, inner validation over external approval, and acceptance over resistance, you are building the inner fortress Marcus Aurelius spoke about. Recognizing these signs of mental weakness should not make you harshly judge yourself, but rather motivate you with compassion and determination to improve. As Seneca said, each new day is an opportunity to begin again. If this message resonates with you, consider sharing it with someone who might benefit from this timeless wisdom. Stoic philosophy has survived for over 2,000 years because it works. It transforms real lives. And remember, as Epictetus taught, do not wish for events to happen as you want them to, but wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will flow peacefully. Until the next reflection, stay strong in your purpose and keep growing in virtue. The ancient Stoics taught that mental strength is not a final goal but a path we walk every day, decision by decision. Each time you choose responsibility over blame, seek inner validation instead of external approval, and accept change instead of resisting it, you build the inner fortress Marcus Aurelius spoke about. Recognizing these signs of mental weakness should not make you harshly judge yourself, but rather inspire you with calm determination to improve. As Seneca said, every new day is a chance to start again. If this message connected with you, share it with someone who could benefit from this ancient wisdom. Stoic philosophy has survived for over 2,000 years because it works. It transforms real lives. And remember, as Epictetus taught, don't wish for things to happen as you want them to, but wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will flow peacefully. Until next time, stay focused and keep nurturing your virtue.